Before the rise of Rome. Before the age of pharaohs in Egypt. And even before the mighty cities of Mesopotamia lit up the ancient world, there existed a civilization, silent, sophisticated, and stunningly advanced. Welcome to the Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization, one of humanity's earliest and most mysterious urban cultures. Flourishing over 4,500 years ago in what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwest India, the Indus people built cities with meticulous precision, grid streets, brick houses, drainage systems, public baths, and even centralized granaries. They were artisans, traders, engineers, and farmers, living in harmony with nature and with each other. While the Egyptians were building pyramids and the Mesopotamians carving cuneiform tablets, the people of the Indus Valley were creating one of the largest and most sophisticated urban civilizations of the ancient world, yet they left behind no deciphered writings, no known kings, and no grand monuments to conquest. Who were these people, what did they believe, how did they build such advanced cities, only to vanish mysteriously around 1900 BCE? This documentary journeys into the heart of the Indus Valley, uncovering its origins, daily life, technology, trade, art, and the enigma of its sudden decline. We will explore its awe-inspiring accomplishments, its silent legacy, and the clues left behind in clay, stone, and seal. Join us as we uncover the secrets of a forgotten world, the first great civilization of South Asia, the Indus Valley Civilization. To understand the greatness of the Indus Valley Civilization, we must begin with the land that nurtured it. This ancient civilization emerged along the Indus River, one of the longest rivers in Asia, stretching over 3,000 kilometers from the snowy peaks of the Himalayas to the Arabian Sea. The region, now part of modern-day Pakistan and northwest India, was rich in natural resources. The annual monsoon rains, coupled with river feds, created fertile floodplains perfect for agriculture. This abundance of water and arable land allowed early farmers to cultivate wheat, barley, lentils, and cotton, one of the earliest known uses of the crop in human history. Long before the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro rose, early agricultural communities thrived in places like Mehrgarh, dating as far back as 7000 BCE. These Neolithic settlements gradually evolved, learning to domesticate animals, store surplus grain, and build more permanent homes. Over centuries, these practices laid the foundation for the complex urban centers that would define the Indus Valley. By 2600 BCE, the civilization had exploded across a vast area, covering over 1.25 million square kilometers, making it larger than Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt combined. It extended from present-day eastern Pakistan to western India, from the Arabian Sea in the south to the Himalayan foothills in the north. Major cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Dolakia, Kalimantan, and Raphigraphy became thriving urban hubs, connected through trade and shared cultural elements. Geographically, the civilization enjoyed diversity. The western region had mountain ranges rich in minerals and timber. The central plains were ideal for farming. Coastal settlements had access to trade routes and fishing. Such variety allowed the Harappans to develop a multi-resource economy, supported by agriculture, metallurgy, trade, and craftsmanship, but this geography came with challenges. The rivers that gave life could also bring destruction. Sudden floods, shifting courses of rivers like the Sarasvati, and changing monsoon patterns created instability. Yet, the Harappans responded with ingenuity, constructing reservoirs, wells, and irrigation channels to tame the unpredictable environment. Water management was not just practical, it was essential. Many cities had sophisticated systems for water storage, including step wells, covered drains, and settling tanks. These efforts indicate not only technical knowledge but also a collective commitment to civic life. From humble farmers in small settlements to builders of vast, organized cities, the people of the Indus Valley slowly shaped one of the world's earliest urban civilizations. Their connection to the land, water, and each other was the secret to their success. As the river carved its path through stone and soil, it also carved the story of a people, one that would be buried for thousands of years, only to be rediscovered in the 20th century. This is where the journey begins. While most ancient civilizations built around chaos, conquest, or religious monuments, the Indus Valley Civilization was built around something else entirely: order. The cities of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dhalavira, and others reveal a civilization obsessed not with war or kingship, but with urban efficiency, cleanliness, and community well-being. The cities were laid out in a grid pattern, centuries before such designs became common. Streets ran straight and intersected at right angles. This wasn't just a sign of engineering, it was a sign of planning. A sign of forethought. Each city had a distinct division: an upper citadel, built on elevated ground, possibly for administration or elite use; a lower town, home to the majority of the population. On the citadel, we find some of the most iconic structures. At the heart of Mohenjo-daro lies the Great Bath, a large, rectangular pool lined with bricks and sealed with bitumen. Steps led down into the water from both ends. It was fed by a well and drained by a sophisticated system. What was its purpose? Ritual bathing? Ceremonial gatherings? We may never know for sure. But its construction reflects a deep knowledge of waterproofing, water flow, and public use design. Nearby are granaries, massive storage structures likely used to hold grain and surplus food. Adjacent air ducts may have helped in ventilation, preventing spoilage. Perhaps the most remarkable achievement of Harappan urbanism was its drainage system. Almost every house, regardless of size, was connected to covered drains. These ran beneath the streets and fed into larger sewers. In some cities, even public latrines and soak pits existed. Wastewater was filtered before being released, an astonishing level of sanitation in an age when most of the world had none. Private homes varied in size, but many had 2 stories, courtyards, bathing areas, and even private wells. These were not palaces, they were common houses. And they reveal a people who valued comfort, privacy, and hygiene. And it wasn't just the design. The materials themselves were standardized. Across thousands of kilometers, bricks followed the same ratio, 1 to 2 to 4. Whether in Harappa or Lothal, the dimensions were consistent. This suggests a centralized authority, or at the very least, shared guidelines across the vast expanse of the civilization. But what's absent from these cities is just as telling. There are no monumental temples, no elaborate palaces, no giant statues of rulers or gods. This was not a civilization of megalomania, it was a civilization of balance. Who governed this society? We still don't know. There are no inscriptions of kings or records of dynasties. Perhaps governance was local, based on councils, religious groups, or trade guilds. Or perhaps there was a federation of cities sharing knowledge and standards. Cities like Lothal show specialized planning for trade. Lothal featured a dockyard, complete with sluice gates and a wharf. The Harappans not only mastered land planning, they engineered for the sea. In Dholakia, the city was divided into 3 zones, a rare feature in the ancient world. It had giant water tanks, inscriptions on signboards, and a unique layout that blended function with symbolism. The Harappan commitment to order, sanitation, and sustainable living set a benchmark. In fact, many principles of their urban design, like zoning, drainage, and public infrastructure, mirror modern city planning. And yet, for all their brilliance, the Harappans remain anonymous. No tombs to tell their stories. No temples to declare their gods, only bricks. Perfectly placed, only drains. Still whispering of water, only silence. Echoing their genius. Who were the people behind the bricks, behind the drains, behind the greatness of the Indus Valley Civilization? Unlike many ancient cultures, the Harappans left behind no kings, no epic poems, and no dramatic monuments. But from the ruins of their homes, their tools, their toys, and their artwork, we can piece together the rhythms of daily life in one of history's earliest urban societies. Daily life in the Indus Valley was centered around the home and community. The people lived in brick houses, often 2 stories tall, with flat roofs and central courtyards for cooking, working, and gathering. Most homes had drains, wells, and bathing areas, revealing the importance of personal hygiene and public health. Bathing was not just practical, it may have held spiritual significance as well. The Harappans were skilled craftspeople. Beadmakers shaped precious stones into necklaces and amulets. Potters created elegant, symmetrical jars with intricate designs. Metalworkers used copper and bronze to forge tools, mirrors, and ornaments. Seals made from steatite, a soft stone, were carved with images of animals and mysterious symbols. These may have served as stamps for trade or even as forms of personal or commercial identity. The recurring motifs, unicorns, humped bulls, elephants, and even mythic creatures, hint at a rich symbolic language. Some scholars believe these animals held religious or spiritual importance. Others see them as signs of social or economic rank. In rural areas, most people were farmers. They grew wheat, barley, sesame, lentils, and cotton, one of the earliest uses of cotton in human history. The Harappans were also among the first to domesticate buffalo, cattle, sheep, goats, and possibly elephants. Harappan society valued ornamentation. Jewelry made from gold, silver, carnelian, and shell has been found in both large cities and small settlements, suggesting a relatively egalitarian society. Men and women wore bangles, necklaces, earrings, and rings. Children played with terracotta toys, miniature animals, carts, rattles, and spinning tops. Small figurines of dancers and animals show a culture that enjoyed play, creativity, and performance. The Harappans were also careful measurers. Archaeologists have discovered standardized weights and measures, often made of chert or limestone, used for trade and taxation. Their rulers were marked with millimeter precision. One of the most fascinating features of Harappan society is its apparent peacefulness. Unlike other ancient civilizations, weapons are rare, fortifications minimal, and mass graves absent. The Indus people seem to live in a society with little warfare, relying instead on trade and cooperation. The cities likely hosted marketplaces, where goods were traded, both local and imported. Evidence of trade with Mesopotamia suggests that Indus merchants reached distant shores, bringing back new materials, ideas, and contacts. But the greatest mystery of Harappan daily life remains hidden in their script, a series of symbols carved into seals, pottery, and tablets. To this day, no one has been able to decipher the Indus script. It may hold answers to their beliefs, politics, or personal lives, but for now, it is silent. In the absence of written records, we turn to the artifacts, the homes, the streets, and the rhythms of ancient life. And from that, we see a society that was organized, artistic, hygienic, and deeply human. They did not leave behind grand monuments, but they left behind a way of living, one that continues to inspire even today. The Indus Valley Civilization was not just advanced in city planning and daily life, it was also an economic powerhouse of the ancient world. Trade was the lifeblood that connected its vast network of cities and settlements. From rural farms to bustling markets, goods, ideas, and resources flowed through a carefully organized system, one that reached far beyond the subcontinent. At the heart of the economy was agriculture. Fertile floodplains and seasonal monsoons allowed for the production of wheat, barley, peas, dates, and cotton. Surplus crops supported urban life and created opportunities for trade, but agriculture was just the beginning. Harappan cities were full of craftsmen, potters, beadmakers, metalworkers, weavers. They produced finely made goods, terracotta figurines, painted ceramics, bronze tools, jewelry, and the iconic carved seals. These items weren't just for local use, they were packed and sent off to distant markets. The city of Lat Hal, near the Arabian Sea, was a key port town. It featured what many archaeologists believe to be the world's oldest dockyard, complete with a sluice gate and warehouse facilities. From Lat Hal and other coastal hubs, ships likely sailed to the shores of Oman, Bahrain, and Mesopotamia. Harappan seals have been found in Sumerian cities, while Mesopotamian records mention a land called Maliha, which many scholars believe refers to the Indus region. Exports included cotton textiles, beads, gems, ivory, and pottery. In return, they imported tin, silver, and other exotic materials. Overland trade routes extended into Afghanistan, Iran, and Central Asia, linking the Harappans to an emerging global network. To manage this vast trade, the Indus people used standardized weights and measures. These were made with astonishing accuracy, small cubical stones carved and marked, used to weigh goods and enforce fairness. Yet, interestingly, no coins have ever been found. This suggests that their economy may have functioned on barter, goods exchange, and perhaps sealed agreements. The numerous inscribed seals may have acted as identity tags, contracts, or ownership markers, tools of commerce in a pre-currency world. What's even more remarkable is that this extensive economy seems to have operated without kings, taxation records, or military enforcement. There is little evidence of social inequality or economic oppression. The Indus Valley Civilization's economy thrived not through conquest, but through cooperation, standardization, and shared values. Their systems were so sophisticated that some believe they laid the groundwork for later trade traditions in South Asia, many of which continue today. Trade wasn't just a part of the Indus economy, it was its heartbeat, binding cities, sustaining life, and connecting a once-forgotten world to the larger human story. What did the people of the Indus Valley believe? What gods did they worship? What rituals defined their spiritual lives? The answers are elusive. Unlike Mesopotamia or Egypt, the Indus Valley Civilization left no temples, no pyramids, no royal tombs, and no religious texts. And because the Indus script remains undeciphered, we can only guess at the spiritual world that once thrived here, but the ruins speak in symbols, and the symbols suggest a deep, perhaps even complex, belief system rooted in nature, fertility, and ritual purity. Many terracotta figurines depict female figures, often interpreted as representations of a mother goddess. With wide hips, elaborate jewelry, and plant motifs, these figures may have symbolized fertility, life, and renewal. Such worship of feminine power was not uncommon in early agrarian societies. A fertile land, like a fertile womb, meant survival. One of the most iconic Harappan seals shows a seated, horned figure, surrounded by animals and posed in what appears to be a yogic or meditative stance. Some scholars suggest this is an early prototype of the Hindu god Shiva, in his form as Pashupati, lord of beasts. If true, this seal may reflect a belief system that predates and possibly influences Hinduism, linking the Indus Valley to the subcontinent's spiritual heritage. The Harappans may have also worshipped sacred trees, especially the peepal, Ficus religiosa, often shown in seals and motifs. Animals like bulls, elephants, and unicorns also appear frequently, possibly symbolizing divine qualities or clan totems. Though no grand temples have been discovered, some homes contained fire altars or small platforms, suggesting domestic rituals. Fire, as a purifying force, may have played a spiritual role, possibly linked to early Vedic practices. The presence of the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro, with its ritualistic design and drainage, points to ceremonial bathing, a practice still central in many South Asian religions today. And then, there are the symbols, etched onto seals, pottery, and tablets. Over 400 distinct signs form the mysterious Indus script. Some believe these were religious texts or prayers. Others think they were names, titles, or blessings. Until they are deciphered, they remain a silent gospel. Despite the gaps in evidence, one thing is clear: the Indus people lived in a society deeply in tune with nature, with ritual, purity, and harmony at its core. Their gods may be gone, their prayers forgotten, but the traces of their faith still echo in stone, water, and the timeless patterns of the land they once called home. The Indus Valley Civilization wasn't just built on brick and mortar, it was also a world of creativity, precision, and innovation. Though their tools were simple, the Harappans achieved a level of artistry and scientific thinking that continues to astonish archaeologists today. In art, they showed a love for detail and symmetry. Their pottery, usually wheel-made, was elegant, thin-walled, and often decorated with geometric patterns, birds, plants, and animals. Painted in black on red clay, these designs weren't just functional, they were beautiful. One of the most iconic artifacts of the Indus Valley is the Dancing Girl, a bronze statue, barely 11 centimeters tall, found in Mohenjo-daro. With one hand on her hip and the other dangling freely, her posture is relaxed and confident, her body is adorned with bangles, her face full of life. Cast using the lost wax method, This small figure is a masterpiece of early metallurgy, and a symbol of an expressive, confident culture. Bead making was another Harappan specialty. Craftsmen used carnelian, lapis lazuli, agate, shell, and faience to create jewelry. These beads were drilled with precision tools and polished to a glass-like shine. In technology, the Harappans worked extensively with copper and bronze, producing chisels, needles, razors, fishhooks, and mirrors. Their metal tools were functional and well-made, serving both domestic and professional needs. One of the most remarkable discoveries is a measuring ruler found in Lothal. Marked with uniform intervals, it shows an understanding of decimal measurement and an accuracy to the nearest 1.6 millimeters. This precision hints at deep knowledge of mathematics and engineering. Across the civilization, archaeologists found standardized weights, usually cubical, made from chert and scaled in units. These were likely used in trade and taxation. The consistency of these weights over thousands of kilometers reflects not only advanced math, but a shared economic system. The Harappans also excelled in hydraulic engineering. Cities were filled with covered drains, sloped roads for runoff, and soak pits. They constructed reservoirs, wells, and rainwater harvesting systems, revealing a profound understanding of water management, critical in a region with seasonal monsoons and droughts. While their script remains undeciphered, the design of the seals shows sophisticated thinking in graphic communication. Some scholars believe these seals were early forms of identity or branding, a precursor to writing and logos. From art to engineering, the Indus Valley people left behind more than ruins, they left behind ideas. Ideas of design, standardization, and structure that would echo through time. In the silence of their cities, we hear the hum of a mind that valued both beauty and logic, function and form, a civilization where art met science, and both served society. For nearly 700 years, the Indus Valley Civilization flourished, its cities bustling, its trade routes thriving, its people living in organized peace, and then, it vanished. Around 1900 BCE, something changed. The uniformity that once defined this vast civilization began to fragment. Cities were gradually abandoned, trade declined, and the once sophisticated urban infrastructure fell into disrepair. The end of the Indus Valley Civilization remains one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. So what happened? One theory points to climate change. Geological studies suggest that around 2000 BCE, the monsoon patterns began to shift, becoming weaker and more unpredictable. The Sarasvati River, once thought to be a lifeline for eastern Harappan cities, may have dried up entirely. This would have devastated agriculture, drying crops, emptying wells, and forcing communities to move eastward toward more fertile lands. Another possibility is tectonic activity. The region lies near active fault lines, and earthquakes may have caused rivers like the Indus and Sarasvati to change course, cutting cities off from their water sources and trade routes. In Mohenjo-daro, archaeologists have found thick layers of silt, suggesting repeated flooding. Without proper drainage and storage systems, floodwaters could have destroyed buildings and displaced populations. In the 20th century, the discovery of human skeletons led some to propose the once popular Aryan invasion theory, the idea that Indo-Aryan nomads from Central Asia invaded and overthrew the Harappan people, but modern archaeology has largely debunked this theory. There is no evidence of widespread warfare, mass killings, or violent destruction layers. Instead, the decline appears to be gradual, a slow erosion of urban life rather than a sudden catastrophe. People didn't die in battle. They migrated, adapted, and resettled. Many Harappans likely moved east, into the Ganges Valley, where rainfall was more dependable. There, new cultures emerged, ones that would eventually shape Vedic India, and although the urban fabric unraveled, the Harappan legacy endured, such as sacred animals, tree worship, and purification rituals. The spirit of the Indus lived on, not in cities of brick, but in the traditions of the subcontinent. For decades, researchers have tried to unlock the secrets of the Harappan collapse, through climate data, DNA studies, and linguistic clues. Yet, the full story remains elusive. Was it nature? Was it migration? Was it something we have yet to understand? In the silence of the ruined streets, we find more questions than answers. But perhaps the end of the Indus Valley was not a fall, but a transformation, not extinction, but evolution. A civilization that chose resilience over ruin, and whose spirit still flows, like the rivers that once sustained it. For thousands of years, the Indus Valley Civilization lay buried beneath layers of time and earth. Forgotten by history, erased from memory, until the 1920s, when two discoveries changed everything. In what is now Pakistan, archaeologists unearthed the ancient cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. What they found stunned the world. There were no pyramids, no inscriptions of kings, no swords or shields, only the quiet brilliance of a civilization that had mastered urban life. Brick by brick, drain by drain, artifact by artifact, the forgotten story of the Indus Valley began to unfold. Today, archaeologists continue to uncover new Indus sites, some larger than Mohenjo-daro. Modern technology is helping decode their economy, society, and even genetic history. But the greatest mystery still lingers: the script. Over 4,000 inscriptions have been found, but no one has yet cracked the Indus script. It remains one of the last great undeciphered writing systems of the ancient world, and yet, the legacy of the Harappans lives on, in our cities, our rituals, and perhaps even in our DNA. From water systems to ornament styles, from yoga-like poses to agricultural tools, echoes of their ingenuity can still be felt across South Asia. The Indus Valley Civilization may be silent, but it is not forgotten. In the dusty plains between the Indus and the now dry Sarasvati, a civilization once thrived, quietly, peacefully, brilliantly. No epic battles, no grand tombs, no glory-seeking kings, just people, organized, artistic, innovative, living in harmony with their land and with each other. The Indus Valley Civilization challenges our definition of greatness. It tells us that a society doesn't need conquest to leave a mark. The Indus Valley Civilization challenges our definition of greatness. It tells us that a society doesn't need conquest to leave a mark, that planning, cooperation, and balance can build something just as powerful as empire. In an age when much of the ancient world was ruled by fear or force, the Harappans built a world of sanitation, trade, art, and structure, without ever raising a monument to war. Today, as we face global challenges of urbanization, sustainability, and climate, perhaps the Harappans still have something to teach us, about resilience, about respect for nature, about the quiet power of civilization. They lived, they thrived, they vanished, but they were never truly lost.